After successfully achieving my romantic aspirations with my beloved alpha husband, I found myself ensnared in a peculiar dream. In this dream, I was merely a pawn in a tragic narrative of unrequited love, serving the sole purpose of paving the way for my husband and the true protagonist of the story. Upon awakening, my frustration escalated, prompting me to deliver a resounding slap to my still slumbering husband. Drowsily roused from his dreams, he noticed my tear-streaked face and, with a tender gesture, turned the other cheek towards me, saying, "My dear wife, do not be upset. If your hand aches, simply switch to the other." 1. I consider myself a fortunate Omega, born into a progressive middle-class family. Since childhood, I have been cherished, always demanding the stars instead of settling for the moon. With my striking beauty, I wielded my looks like a weapon. Though my temper was often tempestuous, my allure was undeniable. It wasn't until I encountered my longtime crush, the alpha and campus heartthrob Jin-soon, 2 years my senior, that I anticipated facing my first setback in love. To my astonishment, Jin-soon confessed his feelings for me, claiming he was smitten at first sight and could not imagine life without me. Thus began our romance, culminating in a seamless transition into marriage after my graduation. At that time, he was flourishing in his career, having established his own financial firm. I basked in the splendor of a grand wedding and a life that others envied. However, one night I had a dream. In this dream, I continued to sail smoothly through life until Jin-soon hired a beta assistant, and everything began to shift. The beta, named by E, was referred to as Secretary Bai in public but affectionately called Xiao E in private. They conspired behind my back in the office and grew increasingly brazen, even daring to engage in an affair within our home. Meanwhile, I, a beautiful yet woefully naive pawn, erupted in a tempest of fury upon discovering Bai Yi's existence, revealing my most ungraceful side. Ultimately, the dream concluded with Jin-soon compelling me to leave empty-handed, signing divorce papers and being abandoned on the streets. Upon waking, I found it difficult to breathe, overwhelmed by the vividness of the dream that stirred a tumult of emotions within me, and tears cascaded uncontrollably. I glimpsed Jin-soon's handsome profile as he slept, his hand searching for me in the darkness. In a fit of anger, I struck his face without restraint. The slap, though lacking in force, left a mark on his cheek. Jin-soon stirred awake, momentarily taken aback by the sight of my tear-streaked face, infused with resentment. He swallowed hard, his mind racing to comprehend the situation. Propping himself up, he revealed his chiseled chest and defined abs. He grasped my right hand in his, gently kneading it. "What is wrong, my dear? Did I hurt your hand? If you wish to strike, I shall provide you with a tool for such purposes." I remained silent, maintaining my sulky demeanor. He enveloped me in his embrace again, alternating between inviting me to feel his chest and his abs. Noticing my lingering discontent, he playfully mimicked a puppy to cheer me up. Eventually, our quarrel softened into a truce, and I returned to sleep while Jin-soon departed for work after fulfilling his duties. 2. As a professional wife, I reflected upon my overly emotional disposition. How could I have struck Jin-soon over a dream that was devoid of any factual basis? Although he seemed to take it in stride, a twinge of guilt gnawed at me. I resolved to engage with other Omegas during my baking class, seeking to learn how they reconciled with their alphas after missteps. Upon arriving at the classroom, just as I tied on my yellow bear apron, I heard a nearby Omega sobbing softly. Accompanying him was another Omega, who offered comfort with a tissue in hand. Both were familiar faces. The weeping one was Zhou, while the comforting friend was Xiao. Intrigued, I approached to inquire about the situation. Xiao hesitated, unsure of how to respond, but Zhou, with a quivering voice, divulged, "My husband has cheated on me." My heart sank as I recalled Zhou's husband, an alpha I remembered as honest and reliable. I pressed for more details. "I thought your compatibility was 90. Has a higher matching Omega appeared?" Zhou choked back tears. "It's not an Omega. It's a beta. Betas lack pheromones, so I was oblivious. I never imagined he would betray me just 3 months into our marriage. I was at a loss for words. How could it be a beta?" 3. The freshly baked butter cookies were fragrant and sweet. Seizing the opportunity while they were still warm, I summoned a driver to take me to Jin-soon's company. Along the way, I surveyed my surroundings, questioning the chief secretary guiding me. "Secretary Zhang, is the president's office still looking to hire?" Secretary Zhang, a middle-aged beta, cautiously replied, "We could still use an additional assistant." I shook my head, and he misconstrued my intentions. Soon, the elevator reached the designated floor, and after ushering me through the door, Secretary Zhang discreetly departed. Upon seeing me, Jin Suna's face lit up with surprise, his eyes gleaming. He bounded toward me like an affectionate dog, entirely shedding his aloof corporate persona. "Wife, what brings you here?" I raised the cookies in my hand. "I made these for you." His delight was palpable as he pulled me close, pressing me against the desk for a kiss. After 2 hours of delightful entanglement, I felt a twinge of discomfort from bumping against the desk. Content. Jin Sun held me in his arms. Still preoccupied with the dream, I asked, "Is there anyone with the surname Bai in your office?" Jin Sun's expression darkened. "No one by that name." "Why do you ask?" His demeanor shifted. "Is there an employee causing you distress? I'll deduct their bonus." I breathed a sigh of relief. "No, I was merely curious. However, we are indeed hiring, my dear. Rest assured, I will only recruit betas, not omegas." My heart skipped a beat. After a moment's hesitation, I decided against mentioning Bai E's name. What if bringing it up made Jin Sun overly concerned? I concocted an excuse about the stuffiness of his office, suggesting a walk outside. Seizing the chance, I approached the front desk to inquire if a Bai E had registered for an interview. To my astonishment, fate smiled upon me. The receptionist informed me that someone named Bai E had just left after filling out a form. I requested the receptionist to erase Bai E's visitor record. "My sincerest apologies to you, Bai E. While you lost a lucrative job, I managed to safeguard my husband. I continued to visit Jin Sun's company on several occasions, each time subtly probing whether the president's office had successfully filled the vacancy. After several hints dropped by Secretary Zhang, he finally divulged, "We have hired someone. It was a beta with the surname Yen." I made it a point to meet this new secretary. While it wasn't a formal introduction, I caught a glimpse of Secretary Yen from a distance through the glass. Seated among a host of employees, he donned attire reminiscent of an insurance salesman, and I could not discern his features as he was seated sideways. His demeanor was proper, exuding a sense of honesty, which put my mind at ease. However, when Jin Sun returned from a late shift, he voiced his dissatisfaction with the new secretary's efficiency. During these moments, I always came to Secretary Yan's defense, reassuring Jin Sun, "He'll adapt in time. It's natural for newcomers to stumble." I find Secretary Yan to be quite earnest, albeit a bit slow, but he is honest. A month later, Jin Sun ceased to complain about Secretary Yan. 5. When I encountered Zhou again, several weeks had passed. He appeared haggard and significantly thinner, radiating a sense of despondency. Having been preoccupied with my own tribulations, I had missed several classes and was unaware of the developments in his life. I discreetly inquired with Xiaowen. Xiaowen recounted that Zhou had a tumultuous confrontation with her husband over an affair. Yet, her husband had fallen for that beta mistress and stubbornly refused to reconsider his decision, even pressuring Zhou to sign the divorce papers. A shiver ran through me, for this bore an uncanny resemblance to the narrative that had unfolded in my dreams. Consequently, I became particularly attentive to Zhou. Observing her growing gloom and silence day by day stirred my heart with an involuntary pang. A sense of irrational fear crept in, akin to a shadow lurking in the corner of my mind. Xiaowen remained ever by her side, providing solace. My own life had been excessively smooth, rendering me at a loss for words of comfort. I stood quietly on the sidelines, preparing delectable little cookies to share with them. Dubbed a baking class, it was, in truth, merely a pastime for the affluent. Thus, few were genuinely engaged in learning. Among them, I was a rare omega endowed with a flair for dessert crafting, and naturally, everyone was eager to accept my class assignments. Just as I resigned myself to the thought that Zhou would only continue to sink into despair, one day, unexpectedly, she arrived at class with a radiant smile. She seemed markedly lighter, as though she had experienced a sudden resurgence. Xiaowen and I exchanged glances, our hearts laden with curiosity, anxiously observing Zhou throughout the entire lesson. Near the end of class, Zhou suddenly called out to me, "Ningyu, I truly envy you." She pressed a business card into my hand, revealing that she had divorced her husband and purchased a shop in town, intending to open a dessert store. She insisted that I must visit if the opportunity arose. I casually tossed the card into the pocket of my apron, noting that her smile appeared genuine, as if she had truly let go. I responded perfunctorily, "Yes, I will definitely come." Jin Soon and I were preparing to have a baby. It had been over half a year since the last dream, and the name Bai Yi had gradually faded from my mind. I continued to lead a blissful life. With an excuse to conceive, Jin Soon, already vigorous in bed, had become even more unabashed. Sometimes he would deliberately forget his keys, waiting for me to let him in. Upon entering, he would tug at his tie while kissing me, lifting me onto the table by the entrance. Other times, while I was busy making desserts, he would lounge on the sofa, playing with his phone, or hang clothes on the balcony. After he had thoroughly taken advantage of me, he would adopt a puppy-like demeanor, kneeling on the floor and allowing me to step on his chest. Pretending to be pitiful, he would say, "If my wife is unhappy, just hit me a few times." I had no intention of hitting him. It would only serve to excite him further. The stamina of an alpha is indeed remarkable. After toying until dawn, Jin Soon left for work, and I finally managed to sleep. I had not slept long when I was roused by a knock at the door. Rubbing my face, I padded barefoot to open it. Standing outside was an unfamiliar figure, clad in a sleek black suit, exuding an air of cool elegance with an indescribable aura. He seemed momentarily taken aback, hesitantly inquiring, "Mrs. Jean?" I gasped, "Who are you?" He broke into a smile, his expression softening. "I am Secretary Yen, here to retrieve a contract from Mr. Jin's study. He attempted to call you in advance but was unable to reach you." I nodded, my gaze fixed on him. In the president's office, I had only ever seen Secretary Yan's face from afar. I was surprised at how much he had changed in the past 6 months. "Please, Secretary Yen, come in. I'll lead you to the study." Secretary Yen pressed his lips together, seemingly on the verge of saying something. "It's all right. No need to change your shoes, just come in." After saying this, I turned and led the way. As we walked to the study, I felt an almost palpable gaze lingering upon my back. Turning around, I indeed found myself locking eyes with Secretary Yen. He appeared flustered and awkwardly remarked, "You and Mr. Jin seem very affectionate." I touched the spot on my neck where Jin Soon had bitten me a bit too hard the day before, a shy smile escaping my lips. Jin Soon, in private, can be quite clingy. Shifting the conversation, I added, "You seem to be around my age. Just call me Ningyu. There's no need for formalities." A flicker of complexity crossed his eyes. His emotions momentarily shadowed before he concealed them well. "Are you expecting a baby?" I noticed some toys on the sofa. I teased him. I didn't realize Secretary Yen was so inquisitive. "We're not expecting yet. We're just trying." After receiving my answer, Secretary Yen fell silent. It wasn't until I accompanied him to the door after retrieving the contract that he hesitantly said, "Mrs. Jean, even though it's summer, the floor is quite cold, which can lead to a chill." His voice trailed off, his ears tinged with red as he added, "Especially since you are preparing for a baby." I thought to myself, while Secretary Yen had become more nosy, his essence remained that of a good-natured person. 9. After taking 2 pregnancy tests that both displayed double red lines, I was nearly certain I was expecting. With only 3 days remaining until my first wedding anniversary with Jin Soon, I planned to surprise him then. However, on the day of our anniversary, Jin Soon called. "I'm sorry, my dear, but I'll be home late tonight," he explained with a tone of resignation, clearly feeling guilty. "There's an unexpected dinner engagement. I promised to be home by 9. I casually remarked, "Try not to drink too much." Jin Soon reassured me repeatedly, indulging in sweet talk before reluctantly hanging up. I had deliberately given the housekeeper the night off, leisurely preparing dinner. Time passed, and by 10 o'clock, I frowned as all my calls to Jin Soon went unanswered. I then called Secretary Zhang. On the other end, Secretary Zhang sounded a bit flustered. "Madam, I can't reach Mr. Jin either." Confused, I asked, "Aren't you accompanying him to the dinner?" Secretary Zhang hastily replied, "Not me. I had matters at home today. Secretary Bai is with him." My heart raced. "Secretary Bai? Which Secretary Bai?" Secretary Zhang clarified, "Bai Yi, you must have met her. Didn't Mr. Jin send her to your house to retrieve documents last time?" I was taken aback. "Bai Yi? How can it be Bai Yi?" I distinctly recall Secretary Yen coming to pick them up. Secretary Zhang seemed puzzled as well. Secretary Yen was dismissed 6 months ago. Now all matters concerning Mr. Jin are handled by Bai Yi. I froze in place, my hands trembling so much that I could barely hold on to anything. "Are you saying Bai Yi has been working alongside Jin Soon for over half a year?" A flash of white light seemed to cross my vision, leaving me dizzy. No wonder Bai Yi had been so inquisitive. subtly probing into my relationship with Jin Soon. A bitter sensation filled my heart, awakening a long-buried memory. Was the dinner Jin Soon attended today with the executives of Huihai? It was no wonder I recalled this so vividly. There was an alpha among the Huihai executives who harbored feelings for Bai Yi, essentially Jin Soon's rival. In my dreams, the alpha had drugged Bai Yi, only to be rescued by Jin Soon, leading to a night of unrestrained passion. Upon confirming my suspicions, I heard my own voice, slow and tinged with bitterness. All right, I understand. There's no need to contact Jin Soon tonight. He must have matters to attend to. 10. Here I was, pregnant with a child while my husband spent the night with someone else. What was I to do? The only option left was to flee with the baby. I scoured the house for any cash. In a state of utter bewilderment, I suddenly recalled the business card tucked away in my apron pocket. Following the address on the card, I found myself in a town whose name I had never heard before. After a series of twists and turns, I found myself standing before a quaint and inviting dessert shop. As I pushed open the door, the bell chimed melodiously. Upon seeing me, Zhou was taken aback. Yet he immediately approached me with warmth and enthusiasm. I never expected you would actually come, he exclaimed. I discreetly observed him. He appeared even better than I had anticipated, radiating confidence and warmth, his eyes sparkling with life. Prior to my visit, I had felt a mix of apprehension. What if he was not faring as well as before? In that case, I would simply turn and leave. His genuine smile encouraged me to take a seat, and he presented me with freshly baked pastries, pouring me a cup of fragrant tea. Zhou shared countless stories, recounting his newfound freedom and happiness since living independently. The more he spoke with enthusiasm, the more I felt despondent. He noticed my shift in mood and asked, "Have you encountered any troubles lately?" His words seemed to flick a switch within me, and tears began to cascade down my cheeks like gentle raindrops. He hurriedly wiped my tears away, listening as I lamented about Jin Soon's unfaithfulness and my feeling of being lost. Zhou hesitated, wanting to express that there was, in fact, no concrete evidence to prove Jin Soon's infidelity, but seeing my distress, he held back his words. "All right, please stop crying. Why don't you stay with me for a while?" Zhou suggested, leading me back to his home. He gently wiped my face with a warm towel, offered me a glass of milk, and invited me to rest on his bed. He even mentioned taking me for a checkup the following day. I foolishly looked up and asked, "Why are you being so kind to me?" He paused, his expression a mix of complexity as he met my gaze. "How could anyone, knowing you are an Omega, allow you to suffer?" I completely missed the essence of his words and, in frustration, retorted, "Jin Soon is such a jerk." He tenderly caressed my cheek. The routine checkup at the local clinic was swift, and the results indicated everything was normal. Occasionally, I would worry about my future. How would I manage to raise a child alone? Zhou sensed my apprehension and reassured me that he would be there to help. Until one fateful heat cycle, on an oppressively sultry night, I found myself drenched in sweat, vaguely reaching for Zhou's presence. Jin Soon, I feel terrible," I murmured, hearing a voice call my name repeatedly. "Ningyu, it's Zhou, not Jin Soon," he replied. "Zhou?" I echoed, "You are an Omega, right? Please help me. I feel so unwell." In my haze, I saw a flicker of struggle in Zhou's eyes. The next moment, I regained consciousness to find it was already the following day. Zhou had ultimately not assisted me. Instead, he had gone out to procure a suppressant suitable for pregnancy. Upon waking, I felt a pang of embarrassment. I couldn't discern if it was from being forced to reveal a shameful side of myself or from being rejected. For several days afterward, I avoided confronting Zhou directly. During my stay, I frequently visited his dessert shop, but after that awkward incident, I made excuses about feeling unwell and stayed indoors. Zhou indulged my avoidance for a few days until he could no longer contain himself and revealed the truth. "Xiaoyu, it's not that I don't want to help you." He touched the back of his neck. "Actually, I am not technically an Omega anymore." After his divorce, he had undergone a gland removal surgery. From that night onward, we began to maintain a distance. He set up a small bed in the living room. The media buzzed for days about Jin Soon's attempts to win me back. Everyone learned of Mrs. Jin's disappearance. It wasn't until I returned to the internet that I discovered my photos plastered across shopping mall advertisements, akin to a fugitive's wanted poster. Thankfully, I had distanced myself initially. Recently, roses began to appear at the shop's entrance, accompanied by cards. Initially, the messages were typical expressions of affection, but they soon took a bizarre turn, with comments about desiring Xiaoyu as a wife and wanting to serve her like a dog. Worried, Zhou installed surveillance at the entrance. A few days later, the flowers vanished, and a mysterious patron began to frequent the shop. Cloaked in a hat and mask, he spoke in a low, deliberate tone, as if intentionally suppressing his voice. I couldn't help but steal glances at him. For a fleeting moment, I sensed a wave of grievance emanating from beneath his concealed visage. After the customary physical examination, Zhou and I emerged from the obstetrics department. Just as we were about to exit the hospital, a tall figure suddenly lunged forward and embraced me. Jin Soon stood there, his demeanor defensive, casting wary glances at Zhou while surreptitiously eyeing the pregnancy checkup report in my hand. In a hushed tone, he pleaded, "Wife, can we talk in the car?" With Zhou present, he maintained a stoic facade, suppressing his emotions as he tried to appear indifferent. I nodded truthfully. I found myself missing Jin Soon a bit. Once inside the car, he immediately turned into a fervent puppy, sniffing around my neck to ensure there were no lingering pheromones from another. Then, with a hint of wariness, he implored, "Wife, please don't leave me." His voice dropped to a whisper, "I'm wealthy. As long as the baby in your belly calls me dad, I will treat him as my own, and all my assets will be his. No, I mean it all goes to you, just don't abandon me. As for the man you were with, can you sever ties with him?" I was taken aback. What did he mean? Where did I get a lover? Noticing my silence, Jin Soon grew resolute. If you truly can't bear to part with him, it's fine for him to stay, but you must not call him husband. He can only be a plaything. I beg you, my wife. Jin Soon's voice grew softer, eventually breaking into a choked whimper. As he spoke, he deliberately began to unbutton his shirt, revealing his body bound by a black corset, his already alluring physique becoming even more enticing. "You know, I was yours from the very beginning." I swallowed hard. Jin Soon quickly grasped my hand, pressing it against his chest, exhibiting a lack of decorum befitting a husband. Of course, I was equally lacking in resolve. Due to the confines of the car and consideration for my condition, Jin Soon and I hastily concluded our encounter. Observing my softened demeanor, he pressed me about my relationship with Zhou, why I had abandoned him without a word. His reversal of blame incited my anger. "It's not that I left without a word. You were the one who met with a lover, neglecting even our wedding anniversary." Jin Soon's face paled. "This is all a misunderstanding." He meticulously recounted the events, explaining how he had taken a drink for Bai Yi, only to be drugged himself. "I distinctly told Bai Yi to call you, but that fool took it upon himself to confine me in a hotel room. I initially couldn't comprehend why, but later realized he harbored ill intentions." Jin Soon shot me a peculiar glance. "Bai Yi had been stealing glances at your photo on my desk. Who could have known he would brazenly set his sights on you back then?" Jin Soon's voice faltered, revealing a hint of regret for not noticing sooner. "Recently, he found you before I did and placed roses at your shop's entrance. If I hadn't caught him swapping out his card, my wife would have been harassed by someone else." He disparaged Bai Yi, concluding he is nothing but a pervert. I chuckled to myself. I had noticed the roses accompanying cards started off quite normally, only to take a turn for the absurd later on. Jin Soon and I exited the car, preparing to head to Zhou's residence to gather my belongings. Zhou stood a short distance away, waiting for me. I felt a flush of embarrassment at the thought of making someone wait for so long, compounded by the commotion in the car. Yet, Zhou appeared unfazed, his demeanor unchanged. "Have Jin Soon drive a bit faster," he remarked. Jin Soon cast Zhou a displeased glance. It then dawned on me that I had neglected to clarify Zhou's identity. I had little luggage to pack, and within half an hour, I had sorted everything. Before I departed, Zhou handed me a small box of baby supplies. A wave of emotions surged within me as I held the box, feeling its warmth in my hands. It seemed that Zhou had genuinely envisioned a future for the two of us. As we bid farewell, Zhou leaned in and kissed my cheek in front of Jin Soon. "You've been calling me Zhou. Do you not know my name? I am Yuzhou." Jin Soon's face turned a shade darker with anger, and as soon as we stepped outside, he discarded the little box as if it were trash. I spent an eternity trying to explain that Zhou had once been an Omega but had undergone a gland surgery to eliminate his pheromones. Only then did Jin Soon's expression soften. He muttered grumpily, "An Omega shouldn't be permitted such intimacy with you." Then he reconsidered. "You say he is an Omega? What about the baby in your womb? It's yours, you fool. On the day of delivery, Jojo made a special trip from afar, while both our parents anxiously awaited outside the delivery room. The birth was smooth, resulting in an alpha baby girl. Once I was wheeled out of the room, everyone gathered around, yet, in a tacit understanding, they refrained from immediately inquiring about the baby, instead surrounding me with concern. Jojo generously praised my bravery, and for once, Jin-soon did not scowl at him. A few days later, I received a bouquet of anonymous roses. Jin-soon snatched the card to glance at it, scanning the surroundings for any onlookers. In a fit of rage, he hurled the flowers to the ground and stomped on them twice. After releasing his frustration, he returned to cling to me affectionately. With a sigh of resignation, I gazed at the baby in my arms and turned my eyes toward the azure sky beyond the window. I remained uncertain about the direction my life would take henceforth. However, Jojo had spoken a truth. No one could bear to harm an Omega like me. Perhaps from now on, I would navigate the remainder of my days with ease. Epilogue. Jin-soon's Diary 1. My wife has run away. There is no alpha more unfortunate than I. The previous night, due to traditional medicine, my secretary locked me in a hotel room, confiscating my phone. Upon awakening the following morning, I discovered that the wife I had painstakingly pursued had vanished without a trace. In a secluded, dilapidated warehouse, I raised my foot and kicked Bai's shoulder, watching him lose his balance and kneel, hunched over. My expression darkened, the atmospheric pressure around us palpable. The black leather shoe pressed down on his shoulder. Why did you lock me in that room? Is Ningyu's disappearance connected to you? Bai met my gaze. I do not know where Ningyu has gone. As for why I can find you, I prefer not to disclose. I redirected my force and kicked him in the chest, subsequently stepping on his abdomen. If you're unwilling to speak, that's fine. I will uncover the truth eventually. Just before I left, Bai suddenly chuckled. Ningyu has fled. Perhaps it's because he does not fancy you. Shut your mouth. How would you know if my wife likes me or not? Bai was infuriatingly audacious. Though I stubbornly denied it, I secretly cried several times due to his words. My subordinates swiftly gathered a comprehensive dossier on Bai, detailing his connections and background. Upon thorough examination, it was evident that Bai had only interacted with Ningyu once. After confirming that Bai was uninvolved, I released him. All employees close to Bai were replaced. As for the alpha who drugged Hui Hai, I would savor my revenge at my leisure. Following the breadcrumbs, I gradually located my wife's residence. I still could not comprehend why she had run away and dared not act rashly. What if she fled again? I replaced Bai's card with roses and disguised myself as a patron at the dessert shop where Ningyu worked, tailing him like a stalker. It was not until I witnessed him entering and exiting with a beta, seemingly cohabitating, that my pupils dilated in shock. My wife had a lover. That very night, I purchased several sets of intimate apparel online, whips, restraints, and low-temperature wax. Just in case, I also acquired some enhancements, Viagra, and other stimulants. There are no cold-hearted omegas, only alphas who fail to assert themselves. 2. Recently, life has become increasingly unbearable. That omega named Yuzhou visits my home frequently under the pretense of caring for the baby. His eyes glued to Ningyu as though he cannot tear himself away. It's as if he's not even pretending anymore. Bai, that pervert, is relentless. The last time I encountered him at the mall, he claimed it was a chance meeting. Did he think I would believe that? He spun tales to Ningyu about how, in this open-minded era, divorced omegas could lead fulfilling lives. Ningyu nodded along, seemingly persuaded. What does that imply? Is he encroaching upon the heart of the matter? Yuan is astute for her age. I wonder if it's an alpha's innate possessiveness. I merely snatched a few sips of her drink, and she has learned to roll her eyes at me. Ningyu was in agreement. How could a little girl not be pleased? She often cries, insisting on clinging to her little daddy, disrupting any semblance of private space between Ningyu and me. Ever since Ningyu became pregnant with our second child, his demeanor towards me has soured. I feigned tears several times to no avail, though I distinctly recall that tactic having worked in the past. Enough of this. I should schedule a vasectomy. If a third child arrives, our couple's world will be utterly obliterated, and perhaps we won't even share a bed. The end. Thank you for listening. See you in the next story.